The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse, and it's nice to have Mike Catalana back for a visit.
Good to be back with you guys.
Fresh off Miami. Pat Duffy, what are you wearing today?
Sabres are having goalie problems big time right now, so, a little honor to one of the best goalies in Sabres history, Michael Neuwirth.
Of course.
Can I ask a question? I'm a little confused. I thought when people Mike's age went to Miami, they stayed there for good.
This was mean.
Is that not a thing?
Right out of the gate, he just wants to make you feel at home.
Actually, Miami is not as, like where we were, I felt old the entire time I was there. How's that? Does that make you feel better?
Well, doesn't that make you feel like you're at home? That's a nice thing.
So how was the Super Bowl?
I really enjoyed this one. It was, the weather was great. We get down there and, you're going to be on the air and you're in nice weather. And so there's a tendency sometimes to be like, well, don't make people feel bad. I said to Jenna, Cottrell was with me, I go, don't lie. The weather's 75 and sunny. We know it's cold at home. Like, you're going to annoy people even more if you pretend like it's not nice. The weather was great. The place handles a Super Bowl very well. It's a little spread out, but come on, they've had 11 Super Bowls there, and then they had perfect weather for the game. I enjoyed the week. I enjoyed the game. I'd do it again.
As far as that, do it again. Got anything to add?
No, good for you. Wait, great. 75 sunny Super Bowl. Awesome.
Yeah.
So how important the game? How
Right.
important is the game in terms of the construction of your week and what you take away from it now that you're
In
home?
this kind of game, yes, everything leads towards it. So almost everything you're doing is like, and this is what will happen on Sunday. So whether that's the fans, whether that's the halftime show, whether it's the game itself and whatever you're talking about, and even in the context of the Bills guys, like talking to LaShawn McCoy, the former Bills, it's about the game. Is he going to play? Or Sammy Watkins, what's his role going to be? So it leads to that. But it almost does feel like you get to Saturday and then everybody takes sort of a breath and goes, oh, yeah, that's right, because there's a game tomorrow. So it sort of works in concert with each other. But everything is about Sunday, but there's so much that goes on. That's why there are so many people who come down for the week and leave on Saturday night or Sunday morning.
Which, it's in Tampa next year. This is why we're going to get around to that. It's like, that's an opportunity. And I'm going to ask Mike, my plan would be not to go to the game.
In Tampa? Yeah, Tampa.
But to just spend the week,
Yeah.
That if it's good enough to do that.
Fun fact, Tampa has so many women, good-looking women. It's one of the few places where attractive women actually talk to me because there are so few good-looking men compared to good-looking women. But I digress. Yeah,
You really digress.
I know, I'm just saying. That's how bad it is in Tampa. Sorry, boys, I don't know if you're watching it Tampa. No, it's funny. You bring up everyone leaving Saturday night. You've been doing this for a long time. Like how the focus on the game in the 30 years you've been doing this thing has gone from this is the main event to everything starting a little bit earlier, and it's the parties, and it's the press conferences. Like the drama of the week has far outweighed in the last few years the drama of the actual game.
And there's so many players down there who come for that reason, and not all of them certainly are going to the game. There was a ton of Bills guys down there. Come on, it's Miami. They see other players and people they know around the league. They go with their wives or their girlfriends and they hang out for the week. It's got all that going for it. And again, it is Miami. If this is in Minneapolis, which is a very nice city, but it's very different for that type of thing.
But the average price is really $8,000 for the game. Is it worth, for the average fan, and I'm looking ahead to Tampa next year,
right.
Even for myself, is it worth it to go down there and skip the game?
I always preface this by saying I don't want to come across sounding this because I've been fortunate.
It's been a junket.
Go a couple of times with a ticket, buying a ticket, but was able to buy them at face value. The other times with a press pass. So to say, well, I've been to the Super Bowl. Look, if you've never been, it's cool to be at the game. It really is. But spending that much money, I do sometimes feel for fans when I've seen them. When we were in New York and you saw all those Broncos fans that had traveled the whole week and then they're sitting there at halftime and they're getting blown out of the game and you're like, man, that has to hurt a lot. But I think, I went there with my dad in the Super Bowl and I bought the tickets, and they lost the game to the Patriots, but the week was great. And I was happy I went to the game. So if you've never been, spend the money. But man, if you don't have the money, it's a lot. And I see people spending crazy amounts of money to go to the game.
I have been saving a little bit of my paycheck since I was 16 years old. So when the Bills go, I have the money to go. I still do it every time my paycheck shows up. Listen, I don't care what it costs, man. I'm telling you. My wife is aware that this money stays for this. I don't care if the house catches on fire. I don't know how you don't. I don't know how you don't find some way to get your behind on a plane and go to this game.
And let's look. This is not some big stretch to say, but the first Super Bowl for the Bills was in Tampa. It's 30 years since the Bills were in that first Super Bowl. Go back to Tampa.
And in your absence, we did declare that the Bills are the favorite in the AFC East.
You declared that. You said that.
You agreed.
I would say, honestly, even if Brady does come back to the Patriots, I think it should be close. Whether it's 100% the Bills, the Bills were pretty close this year. It depends a lot on what these teams do in the offseason. Could be. Your money could be spent next year in Tampa.
Call my wife.
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. We'll talk about the Bills next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House. Pat, is it too early to be looking at mock drafts?
Oh, yeah, I haven't looked at a damn thing. But it is nice to know that the Bills could pretty much take anything they want other than a quarterback, and it's going to go well. You can take the best player available. You got a sneaky need on the defensive line, defensive end style. You got a need at tight end, but you could fill that in free agency. When it comes right down to it, you need a big play wide receiver, but also this looks like it's a big wide receiver full draft, so you don't have to burn that first-round pick on that player. I don't know. Short of drafting another quarterback, or I saw a running back go off the board in the first round of the Bills, too. Those two things would make me angry.
You did peek at one.
I did peek. I can't help myself. I'm stupid. But other than a quarterback and a running back, everything else I would be completely fine with.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. So mark that tape when I say this, that Pat made a good point.
I've been gone for a while.
But I think it is different in terms of, we used to say the Bills could take anything because they need everything. I think now it's they need to add some players at different spots. They're in a position of strength, which is not normally the case of the draft. They have a good to very good offensive line. They have a quarterback that they think can be the guy. Again, so they're not drafting there. They have a top corner. So those are the positions. The spot they really need, I still think, is a pass rusher. And those are hard to come by. So while everybody wants wide receiver, Pat's point that this is a deep draft tells you can find guys in the second and third round. I did a piece just looking at the history in the last 5, 6, 7 drafts of taking wide receivers in the first round. It's not really great, and you see a lot of guys coming off the board in the second and third and fourth rounds who have done really well. So, DJ Moore is one of the few guys who came up pretty quick. I know, Metcalf had a really good year with Seattle, but he wasn't a first-round guy. And there's so many guys sometimes that you think, I got to take the wide receiver. I could absolutely see the Bills taking a pass rusher in the first round.
Well, we are going to find out not so much, it's not what we need now, but what the Bills' plans for free agency 2 or 3 years down the road might be. For example, your safeties are going to be free agents in a couple of years. Yeah. If the Bills take a safety in the top 3 rounds, that tells me that they're ready to start going even younger than they have been now. Same with linebacker. You're going to have some guys that are up for contracts that could get paid. Do you want to start replacing those guys with younger, cheaper players so you can pay Tre'Davious White, so you can pay Josh Allen?
Yeah. But look at linebackers. You got Tremaine Edmonds that they took in the first round, and you got Matt Milano that they took in the 5th round. That's really the way you kind of want to do it. You really, I won't say lucked out is the wrong word, but you're fortunate that Milano was as good as he is as a 5th round pick.
You lucked out. You could say lucked out.
Well, what I'm saying is they liked him. And he's excelled. So you're really paying him nothing now. And Edmonds has been good and can be really good. So you have those spots, but it is good to see in that case, because if the Bills were picking where they needed a left tackle, they needed a quarterback, you needed it, then it's hard to really make up all that.
I saw 6 mocks. 3 of them had wide receivers. 2 of his T. Higgins that came out from Clemson.
Yep.
A couple defenders and a guard.
Can we not take another wide receiver from Clemson ever again, for God's sake?
Or at least not trade up to get him in a draft that's full of wide receivers.
Do you remember the one? You wouldn't remember the one way back.
Oh, don't be old guy. When you get standing in your lawn and tell me.
Perry Tuttle. Perry Tuttle.
Front page of Sports Illustrated.
They had Perry Tuttle, and the Eagles took Mike Quick because the Eagles wanted Perry Tuttle badly. The Bills jumped ahead of him, took Perry Tuttle.
I trust these guys drafting, though. They got a pretty good record.
Well, but he just said why you shouldn't, right? Like, you had the Eagles end up with a way better wide receiver in that deal, right? But they wanted the guy that Buffalo jumped ahead and took. Like,
sometimes you get lucky.
It's all luck. I'm convinced that the draft is all luck. We're going to sit here. We're going to break this down for the next couple of months. We're going to check 40 times. We're going to look back at tape. And in the end, all the cards will shuffle out to what coach works with what player in what system and how it all plays out. None of this matters. It's all blind.
Well, in the context of the Super Bowl, too, and we say it all the time, Mahomes is awesome. But at that time, when Chicago traded up, everybody thought they were going for Deshaun Watson. When Andy Reid traded up, everybody thought he was going for Deshaun Watson, who's a really good player. When Mahomes was picked, people were like, wow, Mahomes went that early. And look at what he's become. So did they know something? You give them credit. They traded up to get that guy. But there were other players that every other team, if the Bills were going to take a quarterback that day, it was going to be Watson. It was not going to be Mahomes.
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not is next. Here's the Press Box Trivia Question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box Trivia Answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. So football's not over, Mike, like it or not. The XFL kicking off.
I don't mind that there's a try at another league, and I'm happy for some local guys who are going to get an opportunity to play. I think when the XFL came out before, it was so gimmicky and they went so over the top that I think it got some attention, but I don't think fans are looking for that. I think they like football. I don't think it'll ever be great. I mean, look, when the USFL came out, and the NFL was in trouble at that time, there were great players in the USFL. We all know, Jim Kelly, Doug Flutie, Herschel Walker, Reggie White, all those guys. This is not going to be that league. This is going to be those other guys. But I think we'll all take a look, right? We'll watch a little bit.
I think there's a flaw in their plan, because I'm not going to miss football enough a week after the Super Bowl. Like, I'm going to check it out. Jerron Jones is playing in New York. I'm going to watch that game. I'm excited for him. But we know him, right? Like, I don't miss football yet. In fact, this is the time where I transition to full-time hockey and watching NBA again. If you waited a month or two, maybe you're going to get the eyes immediately. I think that might blow up in their face.
And haven't we been programmed to sort of an ebb and flow in terms of where the seasons come and where your interests lie? You can say you always like football more than basketball, but basketball has its place for a couple of months where it really does occupy your attention.
Well, in the football, I think people, everybody always laughs and says, well, we were talking about free agency and the draft and all. But that's different than watching the games. It's still football, but it's not watching the games. And it's funny, like even when the Senior Bowl goes on, I don't think there's that much attention about the draft yet because you haven't played the Super Bowl yet. Once the Super Bowl's over and everybody takes that breath, to Pat's point, they miss football, but they miss their team and football. So they're all focused in. What are the Bengals doing? What are the Bills doing? What are the Giants doing? Whatever it is.
Pat, like it or not, our want to know the voter who didn't choose Derek Jeter for the Hall of Fame.
I understand the want to know it. I love the fact that this guy is keeping himself quiet because burn the system down from the inside. It's such an antiquated, stuffy room of this is how it should be and whatever. No, if I had a baseball Hall of Fame vote, right, I would be anonymous every single year. I would not vote for the top player. I just pick some random person that played, right? Like John Olerud. No, you're in the Hall of Fame. One vote for John Olerud every year. And I would never reveal myself because the way they do this is so damn stupid, right? Like I have to care about what some writer thinks about what a baseball player should be on the field, in the locker room, how they treated the game, how they treated the fans, how we're with the media. There needs to be a better way to do this. And the reason baseball is struggling with the younger demographic is because of stuff like this.
Yeah, it is an odd one, though, because if there's, 387 votes and you're the one guy who goes opposite, it's not the normal 8 guys who say, Willie Mays wasn't the first guy, so we're not going to do it. You're just, I think this guy was trying to be different a little bit.
But who would ask for it? Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
especially these days.
I was laughing thinking he's with a group of who all said, we're not going to vote for Jeter. And then they all voted for Jeter, and he was the guy left out.
But here's the thing. If he came out and said it was me, he would have 5 franchises worth of fans love him forever. Every Red Sox fan, they would hold a parade for him in downtown Boston.
I don't know. Even Red Sox fans know. The reality is all those guys, he's a Hall of Famer. And all those other guys were Hall of Famers, and they all should have gotten the votes. It just happened to come down to one guy.
Is he a unanimous Hall of Famer? More than Ted Williams? Is he better than Ted Williams?
You know who he sounds like? One of those old voters who was like, I'm not voting for him because Ted Williams didn't get it.
John Olbrud.
Where the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse Unfinished Business, is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one.
When Girl Scout ingenuity meets Dunkin' Coffee, you get a cup of can-do. Girl Scout cookie-inspired flavors are at Dunkin'. Try Thin Mints and Coconut Caramel today. And get a medium latte or cappuccino for $2 from 2 to 6 p.m. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'.
I smell a conspiracy theory. You got all the scandal going on with the Astros and the Red Sox and the cheating scandal in Major League Baseball. And there was one team that was hurt the most, you could argue, by the cheating scandal. That would be the Dodgers. They're owed a World Series that they're not going to get. Well, lo and behold, before the Boston Red Sox were handed their punishment by Major League Baseball, a trade happened this week. Mookie Betts, one of the best young players in baseball, and David Price, a guy who's probably going to play really well in Dodger Stadium, having never pitched in the National League before, traded to Los Angeles, essentially for nothing. Isn't that weird that a team that hasn't been handed their punishment, a guy that was on the staff in Houston while they stole that World Series away from Los Angeles, ends up giving up these players, one that's a superstar in the making, for nothing to a team that was robbed of a championship? How do you not look at this and see? Major League Baseball pulled the Red Sox aside and said, listen, we can't punish another team as severely as we did as Houston. It's a bad look for the league, but you're going to have a hard time re-signing this guy. And this team is owed something. I'm telling you right now, that wasn't a baseball trade. That was a make-good trade, because there is no way a franchise like Boston, with the history they had, would be fleeced as bad as they were by a team that was owed something because of a scandal they participated in.
Grassy knoll, huh?
Tell me I'm wrong, Mikey. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well,
I'm right. Thank you.
And he didn't even mention David Ortiz. Super Bowl gets done, and right away, what do we hear from people? Hey, these two teams, this could be a rematch next year. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be a rematch, because it's never a rematch. The last time I believe we had a rematch was the Bills and the Cowboys, right? Where the same teams come back. The only team that comes back all the time to the Super Bowl is the Patriots. They're the outlier in everything. And the Chiefs are great. But I tell you what, if you told me, give me the league or give me the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl next year, I'm going to take the league. And here's why. I think Mahomes is great. But look at what happened this year. First of all, he got nicked up during the year or hurt during the year, and he could have been out a long time, and he survived. Then you get in the playoffs, and come on, they're down 24-0. They're down 10-0 in the next game. And in this Super Bowl game, they were down big time. And the only reason that team had those 2 home games in the playoffs, at least to start, was because of our buddy Fitz, who got it done for Miami and knocked New England down a spot. This is what happens in football. They're really good. The Niners are really good. Everything came together that year. Oh, and by the way, the Niners were 6 inches away from being a 5 seed as opposed to a 1 seed. Things can change in the NFL. Pick your teams for the Super Bowl. Pick the Bills. Pick the Chargers. I don't know, pick the Giants, pick whoever you want, but it's not going to be the Chiefs and the Niners in a rematch.
Jerry Seinfeld used to do a bit about rooting for laundry. You know, the uniform on the back of the player instead of the player is actually inside the uniform. Well, the Boston Red Sox are about to experience what that's like with the trading of Mookie Betts to the Los Angeles Dodgers, conspiracy theory holding or not. It's good for the Red Sox probably to learn how the other half lives. The Pittsburgh Pirates, the Kansas City Royals, the Seattle Mariners, just to name 3, have been doing this for years. It's part of their culture. Raising players and losing them and trying to make do with what's left. I'm still going to root for Mookie Betts. He's a great player, one of Boston's best. He came up through their system, and he plays with a smile. He's the kind of guy that Major League Baseball, should be embracing, and that every team in the Major League should want, and the Red Sox just traded him. Well, I will still root for Mookie Betts, but I have to admit that I'm looking for a new set of laundry to cheer for in 2020, maybe, or in 2020, maybe one that's a little more relevant this year. Unfinished Business is brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Mikey, great to have you back.
Good to be here.
You know the fix is in when Major League Baseball got to Bill and told him you don't cheer for the Red Sox anymore.
They made me say this. Help me. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week for the Rochester Press Box.